Hello, everyone, and welcome you all to another chapter of the Basic PHP tutorial. So now we are on our chapter number 4, where we are going to learn about variables. So here in this particular chapter, I'll be telling you guys what are variables, how you guys can use variables inside your PHP file. Okay, we are also going to learn how you can modify those and what are the use of these variables inside your line of code. So let's not waste much time and let's get started. So over here on my screen, as you guys can see that I do have my type editor on the left hand side and I do have the web server, which is the live web server on the right hand side. So in our last class, we do have learned that how you can actually type your HTML down. And over here in this chapter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what are actually variables. Okay, so if I just tell you guys in simple word that variables are like containers, okay, because over here in our programming we do work with a lot of file, we do work with a lot of code, we do work with a lot of data types. So sometimes that we do have a lot of information, we do have a lot of data, we want to store those data or we want to save those data, and later on whenever we need that particular data we can call them and we can just have them with us. So in that case, now how you are going to create that particular container, we are going to learn about that. So at the very beginning, I'm just not going to confuse you guys, but over here, I want to say that you should remember variable as a container where you store a lot of information. Okay, so that's about it. So for that now, to make you guys understand about it, let me just make it very simple for you all. Okay, so before that let me just delete all these parentheses which I already had. So let's come here. I will just delete the parentheses, not the quotation mark, because we do need those quotation. Okay, so I'll just come here. I will just delete this. Now if you do want to give up a space to make it look a bit better, you guys can come here and you guys can do that. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to delete the content which I had. Okay, and here now what I'm gonna type is Control Z, and I'm just gonna type Adam was a very good footballer, and I'll just put a comma. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to come in this second line. Okay, and Adam was a very good footballer when he was 21 years old. Okay, so as you guys can see, I'm going to just write it as a story. Okay, so Adam was a very good footballer when he was 21 years old. So I will just use small w over here, and now I will just put a full stop. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna come here in the third line and I'm going to type Adam, or still people love to see Adam play, but he is not 21 year old, but he is not 21-year old no more. Okay, but, or let me just type, but No more he is a 21-year old boy. Okay. And I'll just put out a full stop. So over here, you guys can see that now in the first line, it says that Adam was a very good footballer when he was 21 years old. And in the third line, it says, still people love to see Adam play, but no more he is a 21-year-old boy. Okay, so I'll just put a small b. And now if you want to see it print over here, so Control S to save it. Now let's refresh this page, and here you guys can see now it is actually written in a single line. Okay, so in that case, now if you want to have all of this in a separate line, so for that what I need to do is at the end of every sentence over here, okay, if you want to have all this line in a separate line or not only having it in one line, okay, so in that case now I will just open with the less than sign, then I will just type br. Okay, so I will just go with the less than sign, then BR, then I will just close it down with the greater than sign. And now I'll just copy this, Control C, then Control V over here, Control V in the third line, and Control V on the fourth line. So Control S to save it. And now if I just refresh this one, here you guys can also see Control S, and let's run this out. And here now you guys can see that I do have my lines in four different lines. Okay, line 1, line 2, line 3, and line 4, the way it is written over here, so it just exactly looks the same. So now over here, this is a story. Here it says Adam was a very good footballer when he was 21 years old. Still people love to see Adam play, but no more he is a 21-year-old boy. So now suddenly, once I'm reading my story over here, I felt that, well, I need to change the main character name. So if I ask you that in my this short story, who is the main character over here, you guys will obviously say, or most of you will say, and which is the right answer, is Adam. Okay, so you guys are gonna say Adam over here. So if you do want to change Adam, first you have to notice that in how many places I do have the name called Adam. Okay, so over here now I do have it in line number 1 and I do have it in line number 3. Okay, so over here now let's say instead of Adam, if I want to do it Chris. Okay, so I need to come here, I need to type Chris manually, and over here also I need to type Chris manually over here. And now let's say also 21 years old doesn't look that much mature. So let me just change the age as well. Like I felt that, well, I want to change the age as well while I print. So let me just go with 24, and I'll just type 24 in the fourth line as well. And now if I just click on Control S to save it, and now if I just refresh it, you guys can see here now it's written Chris was a very good footballer. So the main character name over here have changed. But if you guys have noticed that how did I change it over here? So basically I did came here manually and I did change the keywords over here. Okay. But now what we need to understand is I am able to change it manually because I only have 4 line of code. But just imagine if I had 1,000 or if I had 100 line of code, I won't be able to change it manually. Okay. So in that case, now what you need to do is here you can use or create a variable. Okay, and instead of changing it manually everywhere, what you guys can do is you guys can change the name of that particular variable, and wherever you need that variable you guys can just call the variable over there. Okay, so to create a variable, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come here and I'm gonna click on enter. Let's click on tab, and what I'm gonna do is to create a variable or to tell PHP that you are trying to type a variable. What you need to do is you need to use the dollar sign. Okay. So once you put on the dollar sign, then you have to name your variable. Okay. And inside your variable, you are not allowed to use any spaces between letters or any spaces between your words. If you have two words, make sure to connect them with the uh, underscore. Okay, but over here now I'm going to come and I will just type footballer or football underscore player. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to put on equal to, and now I'll just put on the double quote. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to put out the name as Matthew. Now, okay, so I'll just type Matthew over here, and I will just close this down with a semicolon. And the same way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write another variable for age as well. Okay. So in that case, now again, to signify or to make PHP understand that I'm actually mentioning a variable, I will just write the dollar sign. Then I will just name player underscore age. Then I'll just put on equal to, and over here, as this is a number, if I don't put this one inside quotation also, no problem, it will still work. Okay, otherwise let me just put this one inside quotation only, just for a better safety. So I'll just put 23. Okay, so I'll just put 23 right over here and close this down with a semicolon as well. Okay, and now let's click on enter. And now, as you guys can see, I do have created the variable. So this is the container, and inside this container, you guys can see what are the content that I actually have. Okay. So now, if I want to call these variables inside this line of code, okay, how I'm going to do so? So for that, let's say if I want to replace this particular place, this is the exact place where I am going to recall. Okay, so let's come here and I'll just copy this variable. So Control C, and now let's come here, Control V to paste it. And now let's come here and I'll just click on Control V. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm also going to uh, take this particular variable which says player underscore age. So Control C to copy. Now let's come here. I'll just place Control V right over here as well. Okay. So now I will just click on Control S to save it. And now if you take a look over here, I only do have mentioned the variable. Okay. But if I want to print on Matthew, I don't print Matthew over here directly. Like if I want to print the player age, which is 23, I did write 23 directly over here. But only what I did is I did mention the name of that variable, and after that my PHP will understand by seeing the dollar sign that this is a variable. Then it will go and see what is inside the variable, and it will just print that accordingly. Okay, so now as you guys can see, it was creased before, and I have saved this file. And if I just run this one, here you guys can see it says Matthew was a very good footballer, 23 years old. Here again it says Matthews, and here it again says 23. Okay, so over here now, if you want to change anything now, let's say you don't like the name Matthew, instead what you want to do is you want to type Philly. Okay, so just type Philly, and instead of 23, Now just type 22. Okay, and Control S to save it. And now if I just refresh this server, you guys can see that here all these things have changed. So it has changed to Philly in both the lines and also 22 years from here because I have changed the second variable as well. So now over here, you guys can see it all have changed, and now you guys know what is the use of variables. So in our next class we are also going to learn that different kind of data types, what we store inside, what are numbers, what are these strings, okay, how you can actually work with all of this. We gonna learn all of that over here. So now before ending this class we are also going to learn that, let's say you have already described a name of a variable. Let's say over here for the first two lines, you want to have the name Philly, but after that you want to actually change the variable football underscore player. Okay, so I will just come here and I'll just click on enter, and let's click on enter back again. And as I've already told you that the line of code in programming basically works on an ascending order. Okay, let's say if this line is executed first, it will be printed first. Okay, so in that concept you also need to understand, let's say if I have upgraded or modified the variable, the next two lines which I have underneath them will be affected by the variable which I will modify over here. Okay, so again for that what I need to do is I will just come here and I'll just copy this whole thing, Control C, and I'll just click on Control V. And instead of Philly, what I'm gonna do is I will just type Burns. Okay, so I'll just type Burns, Control C, Control S to save it. And now if I just refresh this one, here you guys can see in the first line, it says Philly was a very good footballer. So I didn't change anything in the second variable where it says the same when he was 22 years old. Still, people love to see Burns play. Okay, so in the third line, now I do have Burns play because over here I have actually updated my football underscore player variable. Okay, and also the fourth line remain unchanged. So yeah, I hope you guys do have understood this particular class on how you can work with variables. We have learned that what is a variable at first. We have learned that how you can actually write a variable in PHP, and also how to describe those variables, how to use those variables inside your line of code. We also have understood that how you can update those variables. Okay, we have learned that how you can actually write a variable and what are the different ways of how you should not write your variable. Let's say if you just start with a number, this particular variable won't work, or that won't be a variable. Okay, so over here in our next class we're gonna learn more about different kind of data types. So yeah, I hope to see you all in the next chapter. Till then, take care and goodbye everyone.